It's the Worst of the Riot podcast, Friday, September 9th edition. We'll start things off with Jimmy Fallon. He's found himself at the center of some controversy. I don't know if you saw this, Isaiah, but there's a recent report out of the Rolling Stone where some employees of the Tonight Show accused Jimmy Fallon of some just erratic behavior, is how they put it. They said he would snap at crew members, express irritation over the smallest of things, and berate and belittle staffers out of frustration. She was saying I shouldn't do that.
Sounds like a day of RadioU.
Yeah, I better stop, or there'll be one of these reports about me. So he's come out and since apologized. Also, I think it deserves to be said that some unnamed current employees of the Tonight Show are defending him, saying that, here's a quote, "He makes a point of commending you when you do a great job and when he's happy." So maybe not all bad, but he even came out and he apologized. So he acknowledges.
He said, "It's embarrassing and I feel so sorry." This was during a Zoom meeting with the employees. "Sorry if I embarrassed you and your family and friends. I feel so bad. I can't even tell you. I want this show to be fun. It should be inclusive for everybody. It should be funny. It should be the best show, the best people."
Well, sorry's not going to cut it. No, I don't know. That's really up to them. It's not for me to decide. But I love, though, and a lot of people have pointed this out, that Jimmy Fallon was called out years ago in a very passive-aggressive way for his behavior, for the way he is on his own very show by none other than Martin Short. I have to imagine it was Martin Short and Steve Martin. They made an appearance on The Tonight Show in 2019, and Martin Short says, he's so excited to be on The Tonight Show. "No one pretends to care the way you do, Jimmy." And Jimmy Fallon eats it up. And Martin Short goes on to say, "No one captures phoniness the way you do." And Jimmy Fallon, I guess what's he going to do? Because it's on the show. But Jimmy Fallon's all giddy about it. Like, he's just laughing. He thinks it's funny. When in truth, it feels like Martin Short was kind of accusing him of something.
See, so what is the actual, issue?
It sounds like Jimmy would just be intense. Would just get mad about stuff that other people deem to be irrelevant, small, inconsequential.
See, but that sounds like just a typical day at anybody's job. Does it not?
I don't know. We don't really have our bosses lash out at us, It sounds like Jimmy would yell at people.
Yeah, but that sounds like it's time to be a big boy and go to work.
You just want people to... If I came in here and started yelling at you...
Well, number one, I wouldn't stand for that. That wouldn't roll with me. But if you came in, if you were in the back yelling at somebody else, and maybe if you were yelling at Karen or something, and she was just taking it, yet again, I wouldn't stand for that. But I think in a lot of workplaces, there's a lot of toxicity that rolls around. Jimmy Fallon's being exposed right now, kind of. But it's not like he did anything terrible. He didn't hit anybody.
No.
He didn't shoot anybody.
Is that where you draw the line?
He's just yelling at other employees. I get it. That's wrong, and you shouldn't treat people badly. But at the same time, I feel like it's almost not that crazy.
Well,
to be upset at work.
At least
I'm upset here every day. If I could yell at everyone here, I would. But I hold myself in.
But you can't, because you control yourself. Because
some people are better at that than others.
Yeah.
There's days where I've been meaner than others. I've been mean to people here. I've been nice to people here. For the most part, I'm pretty nice. But there's been a couple of days where I've been real upset.
Oh, I remember. It's not like he's getting, at least at this juncture, he's not getting fired over it. He's just having to kind of take responsibility for the way he's acted, which there's nothing wrong with that. And hopefully it'll lead him to change his ways, just a healthier work environment. Don't you think? Maybe, I know there's definitely a space for things to get intense at work if it's a high-pressure environment like this. But at the same time, maybe everybody be a little better at their jobs if they weren't walking on eggshells. Because if Jimmy just comes in having a bad day, which is what a lot of people describe, it's just there was no rhyme or reason to when he would get upset. Sometimes he'd get upset about the most nonsensical stuff. yell at people, belittle people, and maybe everybody be a little freer to be funny, do their jobs well if they'd have to worry about him lashing out for who knows what reason.
He's the new Ellen.
Yeah, he is. I've always associated them
Together?
Well, not like romantically, but just as hosts that I personally don't care for.
You're not a fan of Jimmy Fallon?
And here I am kind of, I'm not even defending him. I feel like you're defending him more. I'm just, I don't want to jump to conclusions. I don't think he should be fired. He's not my cup of tea.
Yeah, why would he be fired for anything?
I don't know.
He's guilty of what, not being funny on a Tuesday? Everybody was upset?
Yeah.
I mean, he's the show, so it's his thing.
Yeah, but there's the flip side of that is whenever, they get back to doing shows again, because these are, of course, off during the writer's strike. But there's a lot of people that could also step in and fill that role.
But I think people don't realize until you've been in an industry like that.
Yeah.
The person that's doing the show is not usually a very nice person.
That is often true.
Every time that I've met anyone who's done a show, they're not nice to anyone off the air. Except for us.
Yeah.
At least that's what we say.
Uh-huh.
But every time that I've worked for somebody, they usually aren't the most chill, cool guy that they are usually when they're on the air.
That can oftentimes be true. It's a lot of pressure too, but it doesn't make it okay.
He's intense because he's the one behind the camera, and if things go wrong behind the camera, he's gonna look really silly.
Yeah, and it sounds like things have been going wrong.
Things have been going real wrong.
All right, we got a good podcast for you today. Lots of great stuff in here. So just stick around, enjoy. You already started listening to it. You made it this far. The more I just ramble here, probably is making you less likely. So let's just get to the podcast. Catch you next time.
Disinformation, mispronunciations, bad impressions. That's Hudson. This is The Riot on RadioU.
Now, finding somebody to date, it's not easy for everybody, especially if you're real serious. Like, you don't just want something casual. You want a husband. And I have one lady here in New York City. She's got a clip that's kind of taken off online because her method of finding a guy eventually wound up being walking around New York City with a sign that says, "Looking for a husband."
Well, that's not going to work.
It's it's off to a decent start, it sounds like, for her, because she already at least has one guy who, of course, all of this was done on video. One guy from the video, she says she's been talking to. They're getting to know each other. So who knows where it will lead? Maybe it will turn into something. He knows her goal. And that's a start, right?
I'm not sure this woman's looking for a husband.
You don't think so?
I'm not so convinced.
What do you think she's looking for?
I don't know. Maybe attention, it seems.
Uh-huh.
I think she's on the search for attention. Social media attention.
It's one way to stand out.
It is.
One way to turn heads. I mean, there's a lot of people walking around New York City, a lot of people doing a lot of crazy things. So if you want to make a name for yourself there, turn some heads, you really got to do something wild. This is it. This could be it.
She also does modeling.
Uh-huh.
So as you can imagine, her results on the street when she holds up a sign that says, "I want a husband," versus what my results would be like if I went outside holding a sign that says, "I want a wife," her results are much better.
No, yeah, that makes sense. If I went out on the streets of New York City,
you would get arrested.
They'd think I was homeless probably. So, yeah, her results better than many. But, I think for women this could be, for a man, I don't think this would ever work. I don't think
Never.
You or I or anyone could go out with a sign that says "looking for a wife" anywhere.
Women will be like, "He's so desperate."
Yeah, exactly.
She's begging.
But
he wants us to give him change too? Give him $1?
Yeah, but for men, I think with women, men are looking for any opportunity, any way in, at any, especially if it's like a very attractive woman. They're looking for anything they can get. That's like a sign that, maybe she, is
interested.
And this is making it more clear than ever that she is not attached to somebody else. She's not going to be bothered if you approach her because she's literally calling out to everybody on the street, approach me, please talk to me in a romantic way. So I think for her, it makes a lot of sense.
Yet again, would not recommend most people doing this. But for her, this is a good idea.
You think this would work not in New York City, like in just a town?
I think if you're cute enough, you could walk around anywhere with a sign that says looking for a husband and people will talk to you. If you're a lady.
I guess that. I think people might still talk to you either way. Either they talk to you a lot or they avoid you.
Yeah.
There's no in between.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The Worst of the Riot. RadioU.
Disaster averted in Louisiana, where a 100-year-old tortoise nearly lost its life. It was certainly...
That's a long life to lose.
Yeah. And I mean, you hate to say it. I guess I don't know how old tortoises live, but they probably live pretty long. Like, I don't think this is that out of the ordinary. I think they're known to live very long lives. But at the same time, you live 100 years, you're almost expecting, you're almost waiting. But
80 to 150 is the average lifespan.
This tortoise, then, could still have a long life to live. I even take it back. 100 years.
He's young.
He's like at his midlife crisis, probably, which is why this 100-year-old tortoise escaped in his backyard. There was a recent storm, or I guess at least wind, in this area in Louisiana where Biscuit the tortoise, love that his name is Biscuit.
Good name.
Great name for a tortoise. Great name for any animal. Biscuit the tortoise, his backyard gate blew open. And, you don't think of tortoises as very particularly quick or agile animals.
I think maybe the opposite, maybe slow.
Yeah, some might say, but it was quick enough to make a run for it and start escaping the outside world, see things it hasn't seen in probably 90 years. And so it was a race against time once it was realized that Biscuit the tortoise had escaped. A race against time to try to find Biscuit. Fortunately, a Louisiana animal control team was able to rescue Biscuit the giant tortoise after he was found in distress in a drainage canal.
Because he wanted water or what?
I don't know. A drainage canal sounds like a place that would be appealing to a tortoise to me.
It does. And you guys have to understand, too, this is a big boy.
Yeah.
This isn't like a little turtle that escaped. This is like between like 100 and 200 pound sized turtle.
He wasn't in a cage. He was in a backyard, like a yard.
Yeah.
He's a yard tortoise. So he's been reunited with his owner, which I do have to call into question. Like, if he's 100 years old, doesn't he own the other guy?
That is true. Who owns who here?
Who? Exactly.
Who is like the father figure in this relationship? Because I feel like this tortoise, is this something you like hand down through generations, right?
I guess so, in a family.
Like you hand this down to your kid and your kid's like, oh my gosh, I get Biscuit. I never wanted a tortoise. Now I'm stuck with the tortoise.
What if it's like the family business, like, son, every day I'm training you to take over the painting business. And the son's like, no. But in this case, it's son, every day I'm training you. One day I won't be here, but Biscuit the tortoise still will, and it's your job as the next one up in the family.
Like 150 years, that's like 2 full lifetimes.
Yeah,
for a regular person, because let's say the average person lives to what, 80 years old. That's 160 combined years. So you could do a dad and a son, a full 80. And that's how long this Biscuit will live.
It's very possible that Biscuit could go through 3, even 4 generations of a family if he continues to live on, and depending on when the people got him.
Jeez, imagine, because there's probably a lot of people that own tortoises like this.
Yeah.
Imagine if you got like a bad one, And
then you're stuck with him?
Then like he's like yours, but he won't stop peeing in the house.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I imagine.
You just let the backyard gate open.
And let him just crawl away.
Crawl into a drainage canal.
The only thing Isaiah loves more than the riot is himself.
Someone who probably still lives with his mother and hates himself.
You're listening to The Riot on RadioU.
Yesterday was a big night in the NFL, the kickoff of the season, the first regular season game. Kansas City Chiefs defending Super Bowl champions taking on the Detroit Lions. And if you didn't stay up for the entire thing, you missed the Detroit Lions defeating the Kansas City Chiefs. And it was a close game. It was a close game the entire time. They did wind up winning 21-20. And so the defending Super Bowl champions start the year with a loss. The Lions get the hype train is now rolling.
It was already rolling.
If it wasn't already, it's on the tracks. It's left the station. Isaiah, what's your takeaway after the first NFL game of the year?
You know, I try not to jump to conclusions because the first week is so bad usually. Mm-hmm. It's not great football. Everyone's trying to figure it out. There's so much time for the teams, especially now there's 17 games for them to get it back on track. If I was a Chiefs fan, I would not be freaking out. Obviously, you're missing Travis Kelce. So offensively, it did not look great last night. Patrick Mahomes still looked good. Wide receivers did not look good.
Yes.
But when Travis Kelce comes back, he makes that offense so much better. And so if I'm a Chiefs fan, no worries. You'll be fine.
I think last night, obviously, if you're a Lions fan, you can't help but be optimistic. Although, I take that back. Maybe the Lions are the only fans that know how to not be optimistic.
I don't know. This year, they're hype. They are hype.
Yeah, but I don't know. I don't know if it's the Lions fans. I feel like I still talk to a lot of Lions fans that still want to temper expectations. It's all the people that aren't Lions fans that are getting excited, thinking the Lions, like, this is actually a competitive team. They looked solid last night, but I don't want to get too out over your skis getting excited about the Lions because I think it was more about the Chiefs, kind of their wide receivers literally dropping the ball. The Lions, their offensive line looked great, but that's not, I mean, it's important, but when was the last team that won the Super Bowl because they had the best offensive line in the league? I don't know. I guess the Patriots kind of did that a lot.
The Eagles last year almost did.
Yeah, they almost did. But that's not what wins you games. The Lions only scored 2 touchdowns on offense. The other one was a fluke interception. Again, that a wide receiver for the Chiefs flew off of his hands and straight into the arms of a Lions player who was able to run it in. So it's not like their offense was zipping up and down the field against the Chiefs, whose defense is good but not great and didn't have one of their best players. In fact, probably their best player, Chris Jones. All that to say, I think I'm a little more concerned about the Chiefs. Yes, Travis Kelce should come back, but he's getting older. Maybe you can't count on him to be healthy, and if you can't count on him to be healthy, all of a sudden you've got a bunch of wide receivers that not a single person can name that were not really performing well last night. And so maybe this is, Patrick Mahomes can do all he can, but if a receiver can't catch the ball, what's he supposed to do?
Yeah, I would say don't get too high, don't get too low in the first 5 weeks of the season. Yet again, the week 1 is absolutely the worst time to panic. I mean, the Bengals last year went to the AFC Championship game, and they started 0-3 or 0-2 or whatever it was. They lost their first 2 games. They did not look good, and that's how it goes every year. The Chiefs could lose their next 3 games, and I would still tell you that you have no worries.
Not to worry. Why even watch?
Precisely.
For this
all
time.
that matters, though, for Lions fans, it doesn't matter how you looked last night. The only thing that matters is wins, because that's the only thing that's going to get you in the playoffs.
Yeah. And the way you get to feel today.
Feel good.
Yeah.
Feel like a winner.
Feel this way very often.
You feel like a winner.
Yeah.
Hey, wins is all that matters. If you get the win, it doesn't matter how you got it.
The only thing Isaiah loves more than the Riot is himself.
Someone who probably still lives with his mother and hates himself.
You're listening to The Riot on RadioU.
Now, have you seen, this is a crazy video that people have been talking about here. The video of the prison inmate escaping from jail by walking up between, people are calling it crab walking. When I saw that headline before I actually saw the video, I don't think that really clearly describes it. But think about it in like cartoons, when a cartoon character is like falling and he's between 2 walls, like in a canyon or something, and he sticks his legs out and that like keeps him from falling. That's basically what this guy did. Except, so he like put his hands on the one wall, put his feet on the other wall, and walks his way up until he was high enough that I guess he could jump over the fence and get out of there. It's a really goofy video to see. It becomes a little less funny when you find out the guy is in prison because he's a convicted murderer. So that part's not exactly great.
Not as much fun when he's on the loose.
Yeah, and he is, by the way, that's another unfun fact of the story, is that this guy is out on the lam still as we speak, has not been brought back to justice after his escape.
Yeah, this is wild. If you guys watch the video, my question is, how high up did he have to go?
Yeah.
Like that.
That's right, because the
he
video,
disappears.
The frame from the security camera only shows so high, but this is how he got out. How high did he have to go?
You think about a prison.
Mm-hmm.
Think about how high those walls are. He was doing that little crab walk a long way. And then my next question is, when he got to the top, right?
Yeah.
Because he is completely, what is that, horizontal? He's parallel to the ground.
Yeah.
His body is. How did he make the transition from being parallel to the ground to standing up? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he got to the roof, what did he do?
I guess he must have.
What would he have done?
I'm picturing that
Did
he would have
hang
had
his
to
feet over?
That he would have had to use his arms to he would go from using them to one arm to kind of hoist himself over.
But you got to think he's not facing that way. He wasn't going like this. He was facing upward. He was not facing down.
He's definitely facing down.
No, he was not. He was facing upward. Was he not?
I'm looking at it right now. His feet are pointed towards the ground.
Oh, they point towards the ground?
Yeah.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, then he just grabbed and just swung over. Okay. For whatever reason, I thought he was straight up.
It raises
the ceiling.
Another interesting question, though, of how high up was he when he was able to reach the top, and then how was he able to get down from there? Because that'd be another impressive feat to me. I don't know. Did he have
in the movies? There's always a ladder on the side of the prison that they can just hoist themselves down.
Or in the movies, they make he had a
bunch of napkins in his pockets.
Yeah, or bed sheets.
And
somehow.
he made like a rope.
Yeah, and lowered that down.
And then scaled down the side of the building.
But it's wild. It's wild to see. I don't know how. You don't want to give the guy credit. Because he is a convicted murderer, but how did he even devise this? You know what I mean? It was so many other prisoners must have looked at those two walls and thought nothing of it, but this guy looked at those two walls and saw an opportunity.
Yeah, wild. I guess he knew his strengths.
Yeah.
Yes, that's one of his many skills, I guess.
Do you think he ever tried this and was unsuccessful and nobody noticed? He fell.
Oh, he just fell straight down on his face? Probably. I think this was a first-time attempt. He's like, maybe I can do it.
Yeah.
He's in here for life, no parole. So for him, he's like, what do I have to lose?
I guess so. Yeah.
Rough way to look at it.
Yeah, it is.
We're not sure who behaves worse, the Riot or their dogs.
I don't even know how to behave like a real human being.
The Riot, RadioU.
There's just not enough places to find caffeine. It's hard. It's hard to seek it out.
It's everywhere.
It's hard to seek it out. I look for caffeine. I turn left. I turn right. And what do I find? Nothing. Which is why I'm grateful that in Japan, they are now offering instant ramen with caffeine in it. Finally, a way for me to get my caffeine fix. I've been jonesing for it. And now I can get it conveniently through ramen noodles. This is a real thing.
This doesn't seem like a good mix here.
Why not?
Because when do you usually eat ramen? I feel like people are usually eating ramen at midnight, 11 o'clock at night, 9 p.m. at night. You don't need caffeine then. You're not eating it at 9 a.m. in the morning.
If you're down bad enough, you are. You're eating it every meal of the day.
Exactly. So you don't need that much caffeine in your body.
So you do if you're, when you need a lot of caffeine in your body? When you're gaming.
Oh, we haven't talked gaming in a minute. People want gaming, I hear.
Yeah.
That's what they want.
This is a cup of ramen noodles made with the gamer in mind.
Stay up all night. Because when do gamers go to bed?
Never.
They don't.
They don't. And
makes sense. I was right. See, they are eating it at midnight.
Yeah, that lack of sleep takes its toll unless you've got a caffeinated cup of ramen noodles on your hands, which is now available in Japan from Nissin. Nissin, they say, invented the instant noodle. So they know their way around a noodle. And here they have now infused their cup noodles with caffeine. In Japan, they're calling it gaming cup noodle, where you could instantly, in just minutes, have a cup of caffeinated ramen noodles hot and ready for you. And then you can get right back to gaming.
The real question is how much caffeine we talking? You know, I'm trying to find here in this little article of how much caffeine it actually is. But then the next question is, where does this end?
What do you mean, where does it end?
Like, do we just, is all of our food here in a year or two going to be caffeinated?
That would be, I mean, why couldn't it be at least an option, you know?
You want caffeinated steak?
You think about
You want a caffeinated hamburger?
You think about it now, we have like regular option, we have gluten-free option, we have a regular option, we have the fat-free option. Why can't we just have for just about every food, we have the regular option and the caffeinated option?
See, the thing is here, this is my thing, is with energy drinks, the most popular thing about them is that many of them are like 0 to 10 calories.
Yeah.
So you can get your caffeine without putting on any weight, essentially. And so now if you start putting caffeine in food, what are we going to have? A hamburger that's 6 calories and it's caffeine? That way, that's how you want to take in your caffeine? You can do it that way?
What if we just do it like if you have caffeine in the regular food you need to eat anyways because you can't not eat. If you have
then you don't need the energy drinks.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. If you have a caffeinated burger bun, then you're just eating a burger anyways. You go to McDonald's, you get a caffeinated burger. You don't need to order the coffee or the Coke because you already have it in your, you already get the caffeine fix in the burger.
But then why don't we just have like a little ice cube that just has caffeine in it, protein in it, and everything in it?
You mean just like a caffeine pill?
No, I'm talking about just it sounds like we just want an all-in-one food. At this point, we don't want just have separate things.
That sounds like the future, but it also sounds like maybe you still like eating ramen noodles.
You still enjoy your coffee every morning, don't you?
I do. I guess I wouldn't eschew the coffie.
You don't want to get rid of it, do you?
No, I don't.
Sounds
necessarily.
Like you do.
But if it wasn't caffeinated already, I would want to put caffeine in it.
Yep.
That's the real truth.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow @RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
Former NFL quarterback Tom Brady, of course, well known for his football acumen, quite possibly the greatest quarterback to ever play the game. But now that he's retired, he's finding other ways that he can contribute. One of which is a new venture he's entering with Delta Airlines. You heard that right.
Interesting partnership,
to say the least. And you might be wondering, what the heck does Tom Brady have to do for Delta Airlines? How could he possibly help them out? Well, apparently, he's entered into a multi-year agreement with Delta that makes him a new long-term strategic advisory for the company. He is now going to share a piece of his mind with employees, their customers, and their stakeholders on who knows what topics. He's going to be like a greatness advisor, basically. He's going to try to take the things he's learned from life and apply them to the airline industry. What do you make of it?
This seems like just a wild idea for PR. Throughout my career, my teammates and I flew Delta countless times, spending hours traveling for some of the most important games of our lives, even celebrating Super Bowl wins on the plane. I mean, this guy is just about as reputable as anybody who's flown Delta a handful of times.
Yeah.
I mean, I've flown Delta before. Would they consider hiring me?
Yeah. You're a great in the radio industry. So I'm sure you'd also have a lot of tales to tell, a lot of experience to share.
Like, what in the world? I don't really understand the whole thought process here. Like, who was the guy? Let me ask you this. Who was the guy in the meeting that was like, maybe we should reach out to Tom Brady, see what he thinks about Delta as being great and whatnot?
I don't know. I can tell you what the CEO of Delta said.
What's he's a huge Patriots fan? What did he say?
Delta's people are driven by their commitment to world-class performance, excellence, and a desire to achieve best-in-class results. Bringing a leader like Tom onto the Delta team furthers our mission to connect the world while accelerating our drive to continuously improve for our colleagues, customers, and communities.
Like, what could he have to say? What do you guys think about instead of just doing Sprite in plastic cups? What if we go paper? What if we go, instead of doing peanuts, what if we do cookies? Like, what could he have to say? I don't understand what advice he's going to give.
Maybe he'd just be like a motivational speaker.
A consultant? I don't even know.
Be kind of inspiring. I don't know. I do struggle to think of the downsides of bringing Tom Brady into any situation. Except maybe like...
marriage advice, D says?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. But other than that, maybe investment. Tom Brady doesn't exactly have a great track record on, but you're not asking him to do that. You're just asking him to be great. That's just what he does most of the time. So I'm sure he'll be great at this too.
Yeah, great advisor for Delta. I mean, this is how you know that Delta is just on the rails. They are like do we have any ideas? Does anybody in the room have an idea to get us out of this hole for bad PR? And then someone from the back was like, Tom Brady, he's won some games.
Yeah.
And they were like, you know what? We'll do it. Hire him.
I think it was good timing though to have this come out, because wasn't Delta the one that just had like the diarrhea plane?
Exactly. That's what they have bad
they
PR right now.
Shut things down on that and turn attention to something else. And I don't even know if Tom Brady is big enough to stop people talking about the diarrhea plane.
Yeah, that story was huge.
Yeah.
You know, they probably hired Tom months ago, and they were waiting for a big PR thing, bad PR to come out. And that's when they were like, you know what, we'll announce it once we have some bad PR going.
Yeah.
That way this can be our main story when people type in Delta into Google.
Find more Riot content online. Riot.radiou.com.
Have you ever considered metal detecting as a hobby? Could be very lucrative.
I'm not really in a place to metal detect.
You don't think so? You don't think there's a lot of history around here?
It doesn't smell like it.
A lot of treasure, perhaps?
I don't really feel it.
Yeah.
I don't feel the treasure.
I don't know. There's some burial grounds and stuff, but you're not supposed to.
You want me to go over there and just start metal detecting around?
Get it with a shovel.
I found Aunt Lucy's pearl necklace.
That'll go well. Okay. So, but I'm telling you, the metal detecting, you do it long enough, you could hit the jackpot. Because that's exactly what this man in Norway did. His doctor told him to get out there, get metal detecting, because he needed something to get him active. And the doctor thought that would be something that could possibly work for him at this guy's age. 51. His name is Erland Bohr. He went out metal detecting, and what he found was a bunch of relics that date back to the year 500.
500?
You heard that correctly. 500.
It's early days.
Yeah, it sure is. About 1,500 years ago. What he found was 9 gold pendants, 3 rings, and 10 gold pearls on the island of Rennesøy in Norway. And you can imagine that's going to, obviously it's got to go to like museums probably and stuff, but that's going to fetch a pretty penny to say the least. Now here's my question to you. Should the doctor get a cut of this?
Should he get a cut?
Yeah, he's the one who told. This guy would have never gone out metal detecting if it wasn't for his doctor telling him to give it a shot. Now this guy, who knows how wealthy he might wind up being after discovering these things.
He doesn't get a cut.
You don't think the doctor should get a cut?
No, I don't think so.
Why not?
Because realistically, you know how many people are going to want a cut of his money?
Who else told him? Who else is so directly tied to his success?
Yeah, but like, what if as a child, your doctor was like, you know what, you should get into sports, and then you went to the NFL.
Uh-huh.
Does he get a cut of your paycheck? No.
You should take care of him, though.
You know, why?
That'd be the right thing to do.
He said you should get into metal detecting?
Yeah.
Honestly, it's a pretty... Like, why again? Because he said he needed to be more active?
Yeah. This guy needed to get up Get up and get out there. Get moving.
Wild advice, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, what kind of doctor is like, you know what? You need to be more active.
It's
Don't go for a walk or anything like that. Just metal detecting.
It's different in Europe.
I guess so.
They subscribe, why do I have this problem? They prescribe golf in Europe.
Like, you know what? You need to get out there and metal detect.
Yeah.
Don't start jogging or working out. Walking.
Maybe this guy doesn't have the body to jog.
He has the body to metal detect.
He has the body to metal detect. To
Seems like he was born for it.
Meander across an open field or something like that, and with a shovel and
That's
see what
like
he can find.
If I told you in the morning, you know what, Hudson, you should start going for walks. And then one morning you were walking along and you found a lottery ticket.
Yeah.
Do you owe me? No.
I would bet it'd be the right thing to do.
Would you do it?
To give you a few bucks. It depends how much it was.
Add a little riot to your Instagram feed. Follow at RadioU Official. The Riot. Radio U.
I have here what will be the fad diet that everybody's going to be trying to do for their New Year's resolution to shed some pounds.
You think this is the one?
I think this could be the one. Have you seen anybody talking about the military diet yet?
I don't think so.
The military diet, I don't know where it started, but it's starting to take off a little bit. The military diet is a 3-day weight loss diet that can help you lose 10 pounds in a week. That seems pretty unbelievable.
Sounds kind of dangerous.
Dangerous. Dangerous is right. Some experts are weighing in saying that this would be a very unhealthy way to go about losing weight. They're trying to warn people that the military diet, they don't want this thing to take off because they're afraid. They're afraid that people will be harming themselves, having an unhealthy relationship with food, and just not living a healthy lifestyle if you go with the military diet. But here's the military diet. Here's the idea. It's that for 3 days in a week, you eat next to nothing. We're talking like 1,200 to 1,500 calories a day, which is way less than the average male, moderately active adult male is supposed to be eating per day.
Is that the diet? Is that what they came up with?
So you those are the first 3 days, and then once you get past that, then you're allowed to eat more, and it looks like you kind of, if I'm understanding this correctly, you go back and forth between eating like almost nothing for 3 days, then you have days where you can eat, then again going back to the eating next to nothing idea, and supposedly this is supposed to help you lose weight very quickly.
I've heard of this.
You've heard of this?
Yes.
What you heard it called something different?
Something different. Yeah, it's called a caloric deficit.
Yeah.
Anybody ever heard of that?
But that's like a long term. That's where like that's what I've been doing, where I've been starving myself.
Seems like this
for
is
months.
exactly what you've been doing, actually.
Yeah. Well, I very rarely go off the beaten path though. But they say that like if you're going down to 1,200 calories, that's incredibly low for any like for me, I could not go a day 1,200 calories. That's kind of ridiculous. And so to do that for 3 days in a row and to do that repeatedly, you can see how that'd be dangerous. Here's the other issue with it. Well, one, they say on its face, it doesn't even have anything to do with the military. Not the United States military anyways. And that the weight you would lose doing this is like, there's 3 different kinds of weight you can lose, right? Fat, muscle, and water. And the weight you'd lose doing this is primarily water, maybe muscle, not fat. And so you're not even losing the kind of weight you want to lose. You may not look a whole heck of a lot different. You might look worse because you look unhealthy.
See, this is like when people talk about being in a caloric deficit or tracking their calories.
Yeah.
The reason that this right here is like very similar to what most people who do a caloric deficit do.
Yeah.
It's because when you do a caloric deficit and you're tracking your calories, they say you're supposed to do it by week, not by day, right? And so if you have 3 days where you eat 1,200 calories, then like 4 days where you eat 2,000 calories, and then you track it all up on Sunday, it's going to be the same as you eating like 1,700 calories a day.
Yeah.
But the only difference is on that 3 day period, people are going to focus on eating like as small of caloric things as possible, rather than like protein-enriched foods that would be good for you. And then when they hit that 4-day span, when they're allowed to eat more food, they're not going to be eating chicken and things like that. They're going to be eating like as much fatty food as they probably possibly can, if I had to guess.
Yep, that's the idea, is that you can eat whatever you want on the on days, the days where you're allowed to go above.
That's why you don't lose fat, you just lose muscle.
Yeah.
For the most part. But it'd be way easier if you just consistently ate a little bit more of just healthier things.
Yep, that's you know what? I can't say I've been eating exactly healthy, but I'm let me just toot my own horn here. I've lost quite a bit of weight. Doing this for a while.
Deficit, baby.
Yeah, doing it the right way. Doing it mostly the right way. But this is, at least the experts say, not the way to go. But I bet you that's not going to stop it from taking off.
You know who's perking their ears up at this right now? 10 pounds in a week.
Yeah.
And my wedding's on Saturday.
You won't hear a show like this anywhere else. And that's probably for the best. The Worst of the Riot. Radio U.
It feels like we've already talked about how this is Sober September for a lot of people. That's kind of a little idea that people have started to grasp onto. And the soberness is extending past that. Some people are now getting into what is called sober travel, a new vacation trend.
Oh, hitting the road, sober on the road.
The exactly what it sounds like. Planning vacations where alcohol is just not involved. I think for a lot of people, you think of vacation, you think of cutting loose. You think of
cutting loose,
getting after it. You think of no limits. Maybe that's the time where you go a little crazier than normal. But I think a lot of what some of these stories I'm seeing here is people who have done that, and it's actually been very detrimental to them. And so they're going completely 180 turn in the other direction and saying, I don't want to risk that anymore. So for vacations, I'm planning on sober vacation, doing stuff that doesn't involve drinking at all.
It is a safe plan because you could, if you indulge too much in alcohol, you could be hungover for part of the vacation. Not nearly as much fun.
Yeah, that could be disappointing. That could be good.
The beach isn't as much fun when you're sunburnt and hungover.
Yeah.
You don't feel as good.
And who wants to puke on vacation?
Yeah, if you're puking, you really overdid it.
Yeah, you don't want to be hunched over the hotel toilet type thing. You don't want to be hunched over any toilet. It's not going to be puking hungover anywhere. But I mean, that's a surefire way to put a big damper on the vacation, especially if you have big plans for one day and then those plans stifled because you went a little too crazy the night before. So a lot of people are now starting to. Now, what does sober travel actually mean, though? You can have any vacation and not drink. I guess maybe going to wine country probably wouldn't be an idea. That
on the bourbon tour.
Yeah, that's right. There's a lot of alcohol-based tourism, but there's also just even more so places you can go on vacation and either drink or not drink. It's really up to you. I just don't know what the idea of planning a vacation around. All right, we're going to go.
You can go wherever you want.
Yeah, we're going to specifically not drink. That's just a mindset. That's just a decision you make. I guess it does. Maybe the people you're with, right?
I guess so. Yeah, maybe if you have a crazier crew.
Yeah, I'm picturing if you're talking it would be hard to do sober travel probably for many people for a bachelor party, for example. You might have to either just back away from that or...
Well, you can't back out.
You might have to back away.
You can't back out.
Actually, that's a pretty good excuse. Sorry, I don't want to spend all the money on the bachelor party. Well, I'm going to be the one who's not drinking this whole time, and you guys are all going to be going wild. I don't know if that's for me. A pretty good excuse if maybe you didn't want to go anyways.
Messed up. Skipping a bachelor party you were invited to. Messed up.
You still have to chip in. You still have to chip in.
You can go anywhere that you want. You can go anywhere.
Yeah.
And you can have a good time with or without it.
That's right. It's a trend that people are taking off with, and you know what? Maybe not the worst idea.
You know what I would say is the best place to practice this is probably going somewhere with a beach. Because then you can get yourself an alcohol-free strawberry daiquiri.
Sure.
Alcohol-free pina colada. Those are the better ones anyway.
That's what I call cutting loose.
Yeah, those are the better ones anyway.
We're not sure who behaves worse, the Riot or their dogs.
I don't even know how to behave like a real human being.
The Riot, Radio U.
It is The Riot on Radio U, and today is a special day because Zauntee is joining the show. Zauntee, good morning. Good to meet you here today.
Oh, good to be here. Thank y'all so much for having me.
Yes, of course. We're really excited. We've got the new single, God Had Other Plans. We're going to play that here in just a moment. But Zauntee, the first thing I have to ask is, I gather that you got started with your music career, it looks like at a really young age. Is that right?
Yeah, I was writing songs when I was 10. I think my first song I wrote on a napkin from Krispy Kreme. And then I started producing when I was 14 years old, just kind of like watching YouTube, learning how to make beats, getting better at it, and put my first song out when I was 17 years old, like right at the end of high school.
Dang. So when did you do your first show?
The first show, so like 16, 17 years old, I would drive like 3 hours, 2 hours to get out to like open mics or like be an opener on a show where there's probably 10 people in the room.
Yeah.
My first show, I would say, was like the church that I was going to in Tampa, Florida at the time. Shout out Grace Family Church. They're amazing. Still have a lot of love for those guys. They, without really even knowing me, they had seen that I was starting to do music and they just believed in it. They bought in, and they had a youth camp that had 1,000 kids at it. And they were like, look, we want you to come up and do a few songs. And I was so nervous, bro, like game day nerves. Because I went from like 10 people to 1,000 people. And that I consider that my first show. The picture of it is still on my Instagram near the bottom, just going out there in front of all those kids. And what's crazy is they lost it. Like it was one of the, still to this day, the most high energy shows I ever did, age 17. And it kind of solidified, like, yeah, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life.
Dang. I bet you some people have some cool stories about that being, like they saw you at your first show ever. That'd be pretty cool.
Dude, what's funny too is like a couple of my homies from Tampa, like Micah, Tyrell, Zay, they were all there and supporting me at that show. And they've still been a part of the journey even to now. Like anytime I'm out in Tampa, they'll usually pull up and just show love. So
nice.
It's kind of crazy too, because they remember like being in the audience and watching everybody like in shock, like, oh, this is actually good. And then I start to
No, that's awesome too, especially like when you think about when you're first starting out in music. A lot of your audience are like your friends and your family, and obviously they're going to say like, oh, you're so good. And then when you get in front of like an actual audience, you don't know how it's going to go. And so to get that kind of affirmation, like right when you get up there and the crowd getting into it, I'm sure that helped ease the nerves a little bit.
Exactly, bro. No, once I saw, like after the first beat drop and I saw everybody was in it, I mean, there's a video, it's also near like the bottom of my Instagram, but there's a video of them like starting to get into it during the intro song, like, hey. And I remember vividly starting to feel it, like pick up, like, oh shoot, like they're with this. But it's funny because you go from, your bedroom and 10 people shows and mostly family and friends. So you have no idea how it's going to land. And I've seen other artists where they'll go into that moment and it doesn't land. So that's where the nerves come from. It's like, what is this going to be like?
That's what happened to me. So. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, I'm glad you're here today, bro.
Zauntee, I also want to know then, from starting at such a young age, like now you've been doing it a while. What areas do you think you've changed and grown the most as an artist since your early days?
My stamina is a big thing that has just grown year by year. It just stacks. Like the ability to always be present is something that I've learned. Because early on, you can kind of have the attitude of like, just being a rookie, it's like you're excited about all of it, but things are kind of flying past you and you get fatigued more. I learned the value early on, in about probably year 1 or 2, there was some tours that I was a part of where I wasn't able to like go have a fan meet and greet, or I wasn't able to sell merch. So now I get an opportunity to do a fan meet and greet. I'm not leaving until I say hi to every single person, because I understand the value of it and that stamina, like being there with every human being and being grateful for them making the opportunity for me to do music. Stuff like that you don't have when you start. You kind of, you're focused on the music and you're excited, but now I can literally, like, no matter how long that line is, I'm present. No matter how many delays happen before a set, I'm able to go into that set and be focused and be all the way there. Watching the Michael Jordan documentary, it's interesting. He said the thing that made him the greatest was his ability to be present. So I'd say that's probably what's changed the most. And also just maturity, man. Like, I have more stories now. I have more experience. I've seen a lot more. I mean, this is year 6. So coming up on 7. So it's stamina and maturity. And honestly, the live show too, bro. I feel like it gets better every time. You're taking more reps. So I think me now has a better live show than when I started. And every show I have, I think it'll just get better and better.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of the experience. You just keep showing up.
Yep.
I love you talking about too, like you being present, and as you've matured in performing, even when you talk about like being there, especially for the listeners and all your fans and stuff. It's not even like in the beginning, like you didn't want to like love your fans and be there for them. It's just like when you're in that moment, it's almost like survival at the concert and trying to get through, where now you're like more of a point where like I can thrive in this. Like, this is my thing. I own it. I'm able to like talk to the fans and make their experience, because they're the ones that make it all happen, make their experience as good as possible.
Exactly, bro. Survival is the perfect word for it. When you start as a new artist, you're just like trying to get past each moment and like hoping you don't mess it up. Versus now it's like, how can I make the most of each of these moments? Like, we'll be on stage and I'll turn over to Goose, who like does content with me, and literally during the concert we'll have cues of like, okay, yeah, let's capture this content while we're still like fully present, turning up with the fans. It's just like you get better at it as time goes on.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I recently saw another artist that he came and saw your show recently, which is a huge artist. His name's Bobby Shmurda. Our fans may not be as familiar with him as some people are, but he's a huge artist in the hip-hop industry. Talk about how you got introduced to Bobby and like catching an eye as big as he is to come out to your show, and he was listening to God Had Other Plans and stuff. That's really incredible to see him out there.
Dude, that was a crazy moment because it kind of all fell into place pretty fast. There's more content that we'll be posting kind of later on within the next couple of weeks, involving some of our interactions. But basically, I had some friends that I've been working with and building with behind the scenes, and they were pretty much like, look, we know Bobby, and he wants to come to town, and when he's in town, we want him to pull up to the show. He wants to pull up to the show. So they were like, can we make it happen? So he pulls up with a couple of his team members, and they're kind of rolling deep. And I go out to the parking lot. I'm just like, hey, what's up, man? It's great to meet you. And he was like, it's in the clip on my Instagram. He's like, I came all the way from New York to see you, bro. Like, basically, don't mess it up. Like,
yeah.
And I'm like, okay, cool, no pressure. Now I just felt this joy. Like, I know God is going to show up. He wouldn't bring somebody into this moment and not carry it for me. He wouldn't, not help me. I knew God was going to show up because he obviously wanted Bobby in that room to hear something about his name. And it's funny because I wasn't supposed to go on for another 2 hours, my set. I go up to the promoter and I'm like, yo, look, man, please do me this favor. All right. Bobby Shmurda's in the building. He's trying to hear my set. This is an opportunity to minister to him. It's going to turn up the crowd. Like, just, can we do whatever we got to do to have me come up and do a couple songs now? And I'll still do my full set. I'll still headline. I'll still meet and greet with everybody afterwards. I promise I got you. Just like, can we pivot and say it's a preview for later in the night? And he was like, okay, we can do it. And he's like, Bobby, he didn't believe me at first that Bobby was there. So, no, look, bro, you can go outside. You'll see him right now. So he went out there. Cool, bet we can do this. But it was a wild experience because we ended up going to the studio afterwards too. And I'm going to post about that later. And I was able to play him songs like Oxygen and stuff. And because he wanted to hear some more of the stuff. And bro, we were actually worshiping in that room. And I had an opportunity to pray with him. The Holy Spirit showed up. We got a word for him, and he was emotional in that moment. So it's it's crazy how like it started out as, I want to see the show, to, hey, we're going to be at the studio afterwards. You want to pull up? And then my motto that I'll text with some of my homies when God gives opportunities is bring Jesus in the rooms. So me and Goose going into that studio session is definitely a very secular environment. You'll see in the clips when we post it, there's a lot of, people are smoking. There's a lot of bottles. There's girls in the room. We go in and we're like, okay, how do we represent Jesus and bring light to the dark place? Because that's what Christ did. That's what our calling is as believers, to be in the world and not of it. And we pulled up and we represented him. And other people in the studio even came up and thanked me afterwards, like, hey, this brought me closer to God, and I appreciate you playing something different than what we're used to in this environment. So the only reason I talk about that stuff is because there's a 17-year-old kid somewhere who's going to listen to our conversation today, and they're going to feel inspired to represent Jesus at their school or on their sports team or even in their family or their friend group. So that's the only reason we document anyways, is like, if I can do it, you can do it too. If God can use Zauntee, how much can he use you in the place God has placed you? That's why we talk about it. Like the Bobby Shmurda thing, I'm not enamored. He's definitely accomplished a lot and I respect him, but we're talking about it because we want people to have the courage to represent Jesus no matter who they talk to.
That's right. That's a word. Zauntee, we're about to play God Had Other Plans. Give us the background. Tell us about the song.
Bro, that verse is literally the headspace that I was in when I was writing this. I was thinking back to, because like I wrote God Had Other Plans after a lot of really cool stuff happened. Like Hard Work God First was going crazy. A lot of opportunities were falling into my lap. And then I was like, okay, I want to write a song that pretty much thanks God and what I just said, encourages people who are watching my story and inspires them. Like, if Zauntee is living this, maybe it's possible for me. So that verse, like I remember waking up, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't know how to get from A to B with visions in my head. Like there was a point in the beginning of 2021 where I literally felt like I couldn't move with just how discouraged and how frustrated I was with the point I was at in my music career, because I had, age 17, dropped God Taught Me, dropped a mixtape, all these labels calling me, a lot of momentum, shows all the time, right? And then, signing with a company who didn't quite get it and kind of being on the bench for a little bit and having to figure that out. And God used all that to teach me things and help me learn so I'd be ready for these moments. And then COVID happens and all your tour dates get canceled and you're just, stuck with a company that doesn't get the vision / you can't go out and do shows. And so top of 21 comes around and I'm just like, I'm discouraged. I'm stuck. I literally can't see a way out. I can't release music. I can't do any shows. I'm discouraged. And I'm literally crying out to God, like, what am I supposed to do? Because I'm at a complete dead end. Is this it? Is it over for me? Was the Zauntee music story just some stuff going really well in the beginning and then just it's done? And I really thought I was at the end of it, bro. I remember posting things and just even seeing like, I don't know, it felt like nobody cared. It felt like the momentum was completely gone. And so I started praying this prayer every day. God, I trust you no matter what. Like, I just want to serve you. I trust you no matter what. Even when I didn't feel it, over and over, I trust you, God. And he gave me the vision, like, hey, we're going to step into a new era. This era is going to be the We Follow Jesus era. Like, he showed me the hoodie design. He started giving me ideas for the Stonebrook project. And then I started feeling this like courage again, like I'm going to go. And 21, fast forward to 2023, everything for that comeback, like sitting here now, things, better than they've ever been before, more people being reached, more momentum, more opportunities. If I had quit when I was at my lowest, where I just really felt like, yeah, this is done, the people who are receiving from this message, hearing this music, whether it be some listener in his bedroom or it's Bobby Shmurda, right? All of those people wouldn't have heard what they needed to hear in 2023 if I had quit when it was different. So God Had Other Plans, it's a short song, it's a simple song, but that's what it is. It's like I really thought I was done. I was ready to give up, and I'm so glad that I didn't, because God is the one who controls our future. And I've had people DM me and text me in our text community and comment on posts that like this song has been the anthem for them while they're still in it.
Yep.
Or they're a survivor and they can relate. And I wanted to make a song. Hard work, God first is that motivation for when you're in it. But I wanted to make a song for everybody who survived something or who is like 3 feet from gold. You know, they've been digging a long time and they're really ready to give up. But if they would go forward just a little bit more, they're going to hit what God has for them. That's what the song is about. And I think when people listen to it, they can feel it. Even though it's a short song, it's like it packs a punch. So I thought it was over. God had other plans.
All right, Zauntee. We wish you all the best. We glad to see your success, and hope people can keep on being reached through you. We'll play the new song, God Had Other Plans. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And remember, all of us have stories we can tell. I said this every show, by the way. We have stories only we can tell and gifts only we can give. Our survival is proof to someone else that they can make it. So it's our responsibility to use our gifts and stories to represent Jesus.
Yes.
God had other plans. Love you all. I appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you, Zauntee.
Thanks.
You just heard the worst of the worst. We'd give you the best of the best, but we'd have to find that. As soon as we do, you'll be the first to know.